Hi everyone, it's me, Tim. Today I want to tell you a real life Fallout story with lasers. Now, this is something, it just happened last month, just a few weeks old. And during this story, I will say the phrase, she used her foot to shoot me in the face with a laser, and it will make sense. So let me tell you the preamble to the story. A few weeks before, I had gone to see my optometrist just to look at my eyeballs and get a new prescription if I needed one. During the examination, he saw something in both eyes that he called shadows. And he said, "Look, I think you should go see an ophthalmologist to make sure this is okay." And I was like, okay. So he gave me a recommendation for an ophthalmologist. It was in another town. And when I went to look up the driving directions to it, which was about a week later, I noticed that this ophthalmologist was just a few blocks away from where they shot the exterior shooting for the Laura Palmer house in Twin Peaks. Sidebar, if you haven't watched Twin Peaks, you really should watch it. And if you watch the original series from the 90s and you like it, definitely watch the 2017 one. I had to watch it 2 or 3 times before I even had an inkling of understanding it. Anyway, so I drove by the house. I left early to go by the house, and I took this picture of it because I'm a super nerd. Then I went to go see the ophthalmologist. She had really, really high-tech equipment, and she dilated my eyes, and then she took really high-resolution photos of my retinas in both eyes. And then she said that one eye, my left eye, was fine. That really was just a shadow from the optometrist's equipment. But the other eye had a slight tear in the retina, very small. And she said, it's not affecting your vision, and it won't unless it gets bigger, but it probably will get bigger. Will it happen next week? Will it happen in 10 years? Nobody knows. But she said, look, I could treat that, and it would seal it, and you don't have to worry about it. And I was like, well, this sounds like a good thing to do. And she said, well, I can do it immediately. You don't have to even wait. We could do it right now. She had someone, the next appointment had canceled. So she goes, I've got time. Now, the first thing I thought was, yeah, I drove here. Will I be able to drive home? She goes, yeah. Now, let me give you a sidebar real quick. 30 or 40 years ago, that little tear wouldn't even have been caught. They didn't have high-resolution retinal photography. And even then, a few decades ago, it would have probably been treated via a scalpel as an inpatient hospitalization surgery. Now, today, 2024, outpatient. I drove myself there and back. Although when I drove back, I had to use these very dark sunglasses because my eyes were dilated so big. Also, if you ever have to have this surgery, my nickname at my dentist is No Pain Kane, because I get a lot of dental stuff done because I got awful teeth. They look good, they like to fall out and break and all this stuff. And so I go by the name No Pain Kane, because my dentist, I'm like, you can do anything you want in there, I just don't want to feel it. I said the same thing to the ophthalmologist, and she goes, it'll probably feel like a pinch. It did. So if you ever have to have surgery on your eye, it just feels like a pinch. And it's weird because it's a pinch in a place that has never been pinched. So it feels more awkward than painful or even uncomfortable. It's just like, how is something pinching the inside of my eye like that? And it often makes you wonder, why do I even have a nerve ending in there if nothing's ever going to be in my eye pinching it? But bodies are weird. Anyway, so at this point, we went into a very dark room because the surgery has to be done. They dilated my eyes, and then they go into a very dark room. The ophthalmologist put on this big headgear, and she had a laser in one hand, and she was kind of holding my head steady and one finger kind of on my eyelid. And she moved something down there, and I'm like, what's that? And she goes, well, I operate this with a foot pedal. You see what's coming up. Anyway, I lean back. She starts shooting it. All I see is a really, really bright light. Really bright, like surface of the sun bright. And She does it over and over and over and over and over. Most of the light flashes, I feel nothing. Every now and then I feel what feels like a little teeny pinch. And then it's over. The whole procedure, start to finish, probably took a few minutes. But when she was done, she said, okay, because of the bright light, your retina is overloaded, and it's going to be a few minutes before your sight comes back. So we just sit here, and thanks, Abby. Every few minutes, I'll ask you how your vision is. And so we're just sitting there in this dark room, and she goes, so, Mr. Kane, what do you do for a living? And I was like, I make video games. And she's like, oh, I used to work at EB Games. For my young viewers, there was a game store called Electronics Boutique. Now, this doctor, who I thought she looked 20, she said she was in her 30s, which is just old enough that I guess in the 90s she would have been in her teens and maybe worked at an EB. So she said, what did you make? And I said, well, back then, what you probably would have known as Fallout. She got really excited. She said, oh my God, we sold so many copies of Fallout in the 90s. That was a really popular game. You worked on that? And I said, yeah, I was the project lead on that. And she tappity tap tap. And she goes, oh yeah, you did. We then started talking about Fallout. So over the space of 5 or 10 minutes, while I waited for the vision to come back in my eye, I talked about Fallout with an ophthalmologist. And I told her at the end, I said, okay, I'm going to be telling a story about how a doctor shot me in the face with a laser using her foot while we talked about Fallout. And I just did. So anyway, that's my real life story about getting shot in the face with a laser while talking about Fallout. And I guess that's my life now, which is talking about games I used to work on with people doing procedures on my face. Anyway, that's my Fallout fun story. It's very short. Hope you liked it. Have a good weekend.